Good morning, and I would like to welcome all the participants to this webinar. Thank you for accepting our invitation and participating in the webinar. Um, Today we have myself. I am Swaminathan Venkatraman. I am director of Nandini Consultancy Center in Singapore, and we have Mr. N.S. Venkatraman, director of Nandini Consultancy in Chennai. Uh, Together, we are presenting a webinar on a very important topic for Indian chemical industry and our economy. This is basically on methanol. Methanol, India's missed opportunities. So, before we start, I would like to give a short introduction of what we are going to cover in the webinar. Methanol, as we all know, is one of the most important basic chemical alongside ethylene, propylene, ammonia, and so on. And globally, if you see, the methanol consumption patterns have changed significantly in the last few decades. At present, methanol is as much an energy carrier as it is a feedstock for making other chemicals. So the usage pattern of methanol is also evolving over a period of time. India is a very large importer of methanol due to inadequate capacity in the country. Our import is steadily increasing at about 6 to 7% per annum, and it is now accounting for almost 3 million tons per annum. And the webinar would address strategies for Indian methanol industry and suggest appropriate action plan, keeping in view the ground realities, because such a steep import of methanol and steadily on a yearly basis is it not only adds to a huge import bill to the country, but it's also unsustainable over a long period of time, especially if the country has to grow with the vision that our Prime Minister has for the next 20 years. The webinar would discuss also about ensuring adequate availability of methanol in India, prospects for several downstream projects, products of methanol such as ethylene and propylene. These are vitally needed from a domestic source to accelerate the growth of the Indian chemical industry and the overall economy. We would also cover the use of methanol as an energy source, because that's an exciting possibility. It's not only happening around the world, but it's something that we should consider adopting in India as a solution to our energy needs. Methanol to olefin, ethylene and propylene are also very important downstream projects that India has to focus on. Several derivative products of ethylene and propylene are presently not produced in India due to the short supply of ethylene and propylene. So to address some of these issues, we will have a talk by Mr. Venkatraman. The talk will be for about an hour or so. And at the end of the talk, if you have any questions, we can have a Q&A for about 15 minutes. So if you have any questions, kindly address at the end of the talk, and I would be very happy to address them. Over to you, Mr. Venkatraman.
Thank you, Mr. Swaminathan. Welcome all of you here. Now, we will talk about this entire methanol scenario, both in the Indian and the global context, with the help of around 17 slides. And on each slide, we will exhibit it for 20 seconds for you to have a view at the slide, and then followed by a talk. And let's start with right now. Let us look into the global scenario for methanol. If you look into these figures, the global scenario for methanol installed capacity around 186 billion ton per annum. As against this, the production is only around 111 million tons per annum. This means that the methanol industry internationally is operating at an average capacity utilization of only 60%. In other words, methanol availability in the global market is adequate, and there is no particular short supply in the availability of methanol in the global market. Now, what is the reason? for the low capacity utilization of methanol of around 60% globally. The factors of the total installed capacity for the methanol in the world, 50% of the capacity is only in China. And the rest of the world produces around 50% of the global installed capacity. Because of the large capacity in China, many units in China are operating at around 49 to 50% capacity only. Leaving alone China, if you take other projects in the other part of the world, they are operating around 70 to 75% of the capacity. So the low capacity utilization in China of just around 49% is dragging down the global capacity utilization of methanol to around 60%. So the problem is only low capacity utilization in China and not in other parts of the world. Now let us look into this pattern of application of methanol in the world. If we look into it, one thing that becomes evident is multiple sector of applications. And all the sectors of application have very level of relevance to the industrial and economic growth pattern of the world, and therefore the derivative products of methanol are also registering steady growth in demand in all countries in the world as of today. If we look into this, the major outlet for the methanol is, of course, formaldehyde, which takes around 22.78. Other one important is methanol to olefin. From methanol, you can make ethylene, you can make olefin, which is called light olefin, as you know, ethanol and propylene. It takes around 31% of the global capacity is being used for the production of light olefin, that is ethylene and propylene. India is not producing kilogram of ethylene and propylene from methanol so far. Other important applications are biodiesel, MTBE, which is an oxygenator, then methylamines, chloromethane, and variety of other sectors. And of course, acetic acid is also one of the important factors. So what we need to know from this slide is the capacity utilization of methanol in the world is only 60%. There is no particular short supply. Number two, the low capacity utilization is mainly attributed to low capacity utilization in China. That is because China holds 50% of the global world installed capacity. That is only in China. So this is what we need to keep in mind as we proceed further. Now let us look into India's import dependence on methanol. Look at these figures. India presently imports more than 3 million tons of methanol per annum, 30 lakhs. And the methanol import has been consistently increasing over the years. It was only around 2.2 million a few years back. Then it has gone up. Now it has reached around 3 million tons in the period 2033-24. And as for the projections for the period 24-25, which is still to be completed, it is likely that the methanol import in India is likely to touch 3.3 million tons per annum, steadily increasing at 7%. This is a real alarming situation. Depending on the global market for such an important product, it's a basic building block, it's not a healthy situation at all as far as this country is concerned. This all points out need for domestic capacity build for methanol. Now look at this pie chart. Having looked into this, now look at the countries from which the methanol is being imported in India. You find countries are Oman, Saudi Arabia, Iran, Qatar, Bahrain. All the Middle East countries, proximate distance to India. What is more important about this is all these are natural gas rich countries where natural gas is adequately available or available more than the requirement of those countries and available at a very low cost for them. So the reason is because there is proximate distance and low cost of methanol available in these regions, India's requirement of methanol is being imported largely from these countries, with around more than 80% constituted by methanol import from natural gas rich countries in the Middle East region. This point we will further discuss as we go on further. Having looked into this now, let us look into the Indian installed capacity and production scenario for methanol. See, India's installed capacity of methanol is 7,12,000 tons per annum. As against this, India last year has produced only roughly around 2,22,000 tons per annum. That means the capacity utilization of methanol industry in India is as low as 31%. As low as 31%, I repeat. Of the number of producers of methanol in India, companies have closed down the plant. Rashtriya Chemical Fertilizer have closed down the plant. Gujarat State Fertilizer Company have closed down the plant. And Deepak Fertilizers have closed down the plant. Only two plants are in operation. One is the Assam Petrochemical as well as the GNFC. Now, why have they closed down the plant? All these companies have said in their annual reports that it's uneconomic to continue the production of methanol, given the import price of methanol, which Indian units are unable to compete because their cost of production and sale price of methanol is much higher than what is prevailing in the international market. Therefore, they are unable to compete with the imported methanol, and so all these companies have closed down the plant. So only two units are operation. That explains the reason why the capacity utilization of methanol industry in India is as low as 31%. In other words, the non-viability of methanol production in India, given the present price of natural gas and present price of imported methanol in the country, is again an alarming picture which requires a lot of corrections. Look into that. We will further look into this right now. Now let us look into, apart from these projects, which are all the projects being planned in India. The government of India is very keen to improve the methanol production, to increase the methanol production. So what the government of India is doing now is, they are not trying to promote methanol production based on natural gas, which is not adequately available in the country and imported price much higher. They are trying to base and increase the production of methanol in the country by producing methanol from coal. Methanol from coal is largely produced in China, substantial quantity. China has large availability of coal. It does not have enough natural gas. It does not have enough crude oil. China is a big import dependent on crude oil and natural gas. Therefore, they have started using coal as the feedstock for the production of methanol. And they have perfected the technology. They have also liberally acquired technology from several countries abroad, particularly developed countries, to get the technology for methanol. And now China is producing large quantity of methanol from coal only, which we see later. So the government of India thinks that India has also a large quantity of coal deposits. India does not have enough crude oil. India does not have enough natural gas. India is much dependent on these feedstocks. Therefore, why not produce methanol from coal? Technically, it's a very logical decision. So what the government of India has done is, first is, the Coal India is promoting a methanol project from coal that is being done at coal fields in West Bengal. This project proposed to have a capacity of 2050 ton per day. That's one of these projects, about which we'll discuss a little later. The second project that is being planned is by NLC Limited in Tamil Nadu, Naval Lignite Corporation. Whereas the Coal India is trying to promote project based on coal, Naval Lignite Corporation is trying to promote methanol project based on lignite, which is available in the Naval Lignite Corporation NLC. They are planning for a capacity of roughly around 1,200 tons per day. That would cost a project of 4,400 crore. These are the only two major methanol plants being planned in India today. Both are in the preliminary planning stage only at the moment. Now, apart from this, the government of India is trying to provide a coal synthesis natural gas, what we call as SNG, that is being promoted by the Coal India. The natural gas, synthetic natural gas is a slightly different product from where we can also make methanol, but they are going to confine themselves to synthetic natural gas here, which has several downstream products. Then what are the R&D work that has been done so far in India? BHEL, Bharat Heavy Electricals, has set up a pilot plant for the production of methanol from coal in Hyderabad. It's a very small pilot plant of capacity just around 0.25 metric ton per day. Very small capacity plant. They say they have technically they have worked it out. They are able to get methanol. Another experiment is now IIT Delhi and Thermax have joined together and are putting up a demonstration plant with high ash coal content of Indian coal for production of methanol. This is again a small 1 ton per day plant. Now all these both these R&D initiatives have been done at a very small scale. The question is, they produce methanol all right. There's no problem in producing methanol from coal. The problem in producing methanol from coal is the cost competitiveness, environmental issues. We'll discuss about this a little later. Now we'll go to the next slide. We'll have a look at the methanol tree and India's missed opportunities. This is a very interesting slide. Kindly go through this. I'll just wait for 20 seconds until you read this. From natural gas, we produce methanol. As I just now said earlier, India is importing 3 million ton of methanol so far per annum, which import is steadily going up. Now, one of the important products for methanol is acetic acid. Now, India is importing 1.1 million ton of acetic acid per year. The import is going up at 7 to 8%. There are two units, which is GNFC1, and recently Jubilant has started a small plant. GNFC has a capacity of roughly 1,65,000 tons. They're operating at capacity level. So a big chunk of methanol derivative product named acetic acid is not being produced in India. Main reason is due to want of methanol. That's number one. Number two, very important product is methanol to olefin. Now, methanol to olefin is not produced in India. It's called light olefins, which consist of ethylene and propylene. Now, look at the ethylene picture. India is, ethylene and propylene are two commodities which are very difficult to import because of the hazardous nature of the product. Only by and large, a small quantity being imported. From ethylene, there are a lot of derivative products. I am taking two products. One is styrene. India is importing 1 million ton of styrene per annum. 1 million ton of styrene per annum. There is no production of styrene in India. In PVC, polyvinyl chloride, which is produced from ethylene, there are units which are operating in India. Still, India is importing 2.5 million ton of PVC per year, with import is steadily going up as no major expansion proposal for PVC are underway in India to any significant level. This is as far as ethylene is concerned. Now, let the propylene, we look into that. Isopropyl alcohol. You find India imports 0.2 million ton per annum, 2 lakh tons per annum. And then again, we got polypropylene. India is importing 1.3 million ton per annum. The reason for all these massive imports are non-availability of ethylene and propylene in India for using as a feedstock for the production of derivative products. Why ethylene and propylene is not available? The reason is you cannot import ethylene and propylene in large quantity because of the hazardous nature of the product and separate and special shipping requirements. Number two, India is producing ethylene and propylene from the petrochemical feedstock like natural gas or crude oil and naphtha. When they do that, the price of the crude oil and natural gas and fluctuating so steadily is a direct impact on the production cost of ethylene and propylene. The third is you have to build capacities for ethylene and propylene, which India is trying to do it. Number of projects are underway. Nevertheless, the fact here is that India is not producing ethylene and propylene in adequate quantity. As a result, several downstream products are not being put. Then there's another very important product called vinyl ester monomer. This is also coming from ethylene. And India is importing roughly 0.2 million ton of VAM. A project is being planned by Asian Paints right now for the VAM project. I've given only a few case studies. Then there are a number of other derivative products of methanol, which are down below. and most of the derivative products are still in short supply or are not adequately produced, and demand is steadily going up. All these point out to a reason or rather justification for building domestic methanol capacity in India. And not building methanol capacity in India gives us losing the opportunity for producing several methanol-based derivative products. If India were to sustain its growth rate at 8 to 9% per annum as for the chemical industry, it is very imperative that India has to build capacity for methanol as early as possible and as large capacity as possible. Now, building methanol capacity from ethylene and propylene is feasible. Building methanol ethylene and propylene capacity for methanol is feasible, which we are not doing in India. On the other hand, we are getting crude oil and natural gas as a feedstock, which is supply is fluctuating. There are enough issues there. So obviously, producing ethylene and propylene is far more acceptable proposition from methanol rather than from crude oil and natural gas. Now we'll go to the next scenario of question is how to ensure competitive price for methanol. I have said that methanol units are operating at a low capacity in India at 31%. I have also said the number of derivative products of methanol are not being produced in India. I have also said because number of derivative products are not being produced in India, food demands are steadily going up. India is losing opportunities for growth, and it become very difficult to sustain the growth of the chemical industry as 8 to 9% per annum. So the most important thing to be done here is ensure domestic availability of methanol, number one. Ensure domestic availability of methanol at globally competitive price. Now, question is, how can we do this? The either way of doing it is produce methanol in India. Let's look into that. Just have a look at this slide right now. There are four alternative ways of producing methanol. One is methanol can be produced from municipal solid waste. Other thing is methanol can be produced from carbon dioxide. Third, methanol can be produced from coal. Fourth, methanol can be produced from natural gas. We are not doing it. Let us take each one of these and examine the matter. First, methanol from municipal solid waste. There are no problem in municipal solid waste. It is plentifully available in India. And the problem is actually disposal of the municipal solid waste. But municipal solid waste is not being utilized profitably for production of methanol. At the same time, there is a unit, Enercom in Canada, who has got a methanol plant produced from municipal solid waste of capacity 38 million liters per annum. They have successfully operated a plant for municipal solid waste, 38 liters per annum. Now, this company has got an agreement with the company in Netherlands to repeat this plant, methanol from municipal solid waste in Netherlands area, where they plan to collect municipal solid waste from several European countries, bring it down, both as a value addition for municipal solid waste and also as an environment protection. We are not doing this in India, number one. Now, number two is methanol from carbon dioxide. Multiple carbon dioxide available in the country. But this is a project which is still under, I would say, technologically development stage. There is one plant that is being operated here in Iceland for producing methanol from carbon dioxide. They say they are reasonably successful, but we are not able to get access to data with regard to what is the production cost of methanol from this particular unit. However, now BASF and Linde Group and Tyson Group together have joined together to develop technology for the production of methanol from carbon dioxide, and I'm told that technology efforts probably would materialize successfully maybe in another 1 to 2 years. In India, L&T and NTPC have announced a partnership to put up a demonstration plant to convert carbon dioxide into methanol. This is again a very, very early stage. So as far as the carbon dioxide is concerned, methanol production from carbon dioxide is concerned, India is still technology is still under development, but it is an opportunity for India in the long run, which we have to necessarily keep eye on. Now, let us look into this. Next slide. This is about methanol from coal. I already told you about some of the coal-based methanol plants being planned in India by Coal India and NLC, Navy Lignite Corporation. What is the problem? The problem with Coal India is high ash content. When the coal has high ash content, technically producing methanol from coal is no problem. Parameters are very well known. But when high ash content is very high, obviously what will happen is there's an environmental issue because emission become too much. All the ash has to go out. Second is, with the higher ash content, the quantity of synthesis gas produced from coal is also become much less. So the plant becomes technically, possibly, economically unviable. So technically it is possible. This is a problem that is confronting both Coal India, who is want to produce a coal from methanol from coal, and NLC. The question is, both are proceeding with the project. Probably they are discussing with the collaborators and all that. No firm indication has been given as when the plant is going to be commissioned. Everything seems to be in a preliminary planning stage right now. Here, what question here is, there is no constraint in producing methanol from coal in India with high ash content. But what is the production cost? What is the environmental issue? There is no point in producing methanol from coal at a production cost which is higher than the methanol produced from natural gas elsewhere. In such case, what is likely to happen? In spite of the methanol produced from coal in India, methanol will continue to be imported because the imported product from natural gas is likely to be lower than the methanol plant produced from coal. Because of this, some experts have made a view that setting methanol plant from coal in India is a calculated risk, not from the technical point of view, but from the economic viability point of view. That's one question that we have to keep in mind. So both these projects, we have to keep our fingers crossed as far as the future is concerned. Now, this is the fact now. Cost competitiveness and environmental issues in producing coal, methanol from coal, is yet to be firmly established in Indian condition. That's the ground reality that we have to keep in mind. I'm not saying anything critical about this coal to methanol project. I'm only saying there are certain issues which look very obvious, and we have to, even as we build this project well, we have to keep our fingers closed. Now we go to the methanol supply scenario. Next slide. If you take the methanol as the feedstock, now here, domestic production, see, India problem is domestic production of natural gas is virtually stagnant. India imports around 50% of the natural gas requirements. A lot of LNG stations have been opened, including in Chennai, and more LNG stations are being planned. And India is planning to increase the role of LNG to 15% of the total energy consumption in India. That's a fact number one. Nevertheless, it is likely that the domestic supply of natural gas is unlikely to increase significantly in the coming years. As you know, the problem with the natural gas is natural gas wells have a limited operating life. After some time, they become dry. So they have to go for a new discovery. This is what is happening. Based on the past production and future projection, it appears natural gas supply in India is unlikely to increase significantly in the coming years. Now, here what is happening here is, from this natural gas, India is producing methanol. Cost of natural gas is non-available, number one, adequate quantity. Domestic cost of production cost of natural gas is also very high. Now, the same thing, you get the countries like Middle East countries, where natural gas price is much, much lower. Now, look at the price of natural gas in different regions. In India, see what happens is, when you import the natural gas, you have to liquefy it, bring it shipped here, and then regasify it in India, and then transport it to the pipeline. All these things make the delivered price of natural gas very high. If we look into the picture, the delivered price of natural gas in India today, LNG, is as much as $9.6 per MMBTU. This is 9.6 as far as India is concerned. Now look at the figure in Qatar. Qatar, it is only $2 to $4 per MMBTU, half of or less than half of the Indian price. Take Iran, very low. Iran is around $0.6 per MMBTU. The reason why Iran is so low is it's heavily subsidized by the government of Iran. So let you know the scenario here is you will find here the availability of natural gas and the cost of natural gas in India delivered today to Indian producers is much, much higher than the natural gas available to countries like Iran or Saudi Arabia, where methanol is being produced. So it becomes impossible for the Indian methanol units for importing natural gas to compete with the natural gas produced from Middle East countries or natural gas rich countries. That's one of the issues is concerned as far as the feedstock is concerned. Now let's go to the next slide. Now look into this picture. Which are all the high natural gas rich countries in the world? Of course, US is the largest natural gas rich country. It has 1.03 trillion cubic meter. Then we have listed the other countries here. Next, it comes to Russia, Iran, China, and all this. I just wait for a few seconds. You can have a look at this slide now. See, what is very clear is, again, natural gas is plentifully available abroad. There is no constraint, except it is not available in India. There are countries which are producing very large quantities, like USA, or Russia, or Iran, China, Canada, and all these kind of things. And this is availability. So, natural gas rich countries have adequate availability of natural gas, and that picture we have to keep in mind as we are going to work out our strategy for methanol in the coming years. We'll go to the next slide now. See, India has large reserves of natural gas, no doubt about it. And the demand for natural gas is steadily going up. According to this, recently, India has and Qatar have come into an agreement during the visit of this Qatar leader to India when he met the Prime Minister for a 2 or 3 day visit here, where India has made an agreement with Qatar for a 20-year agreement India has entered into for supply of LNG worth around 78 billion US dollar. With Qatar, we have agreed. That means we have decided 20 years we'll import LNG from Qatar at such a huge cost that one agreement has been signed. Now, what we need to do is, when Qatar is in a position to supply so much of natural gas over a long period, why not India go and set up methanol plant in Qatar where natural gas is available at low cost of $2 to $4 per MMBTU? That is the question. Such methanol produced in Qatar or any other natural gas rich countries, proximate in distance or friendly to India. For example, we have done an extensive study for the government of Trinidad and Tobago for some downstream products a few years back. Trinidad and Tobago also has a lot of methanol capacity, very friendly government to India. They said that we can supply natural gas to India. Now, but the distance is the issue. So we need to put up some methanol plant based on natural gas in natural gas rich countries, such as Qatar, which is friendly to India, or Saudi Arabia, or Bahrain, or Iran, or elsewhere. Now, having looked into this is not a new session I'm making. A lot of Indian companies are already having the arrangement. For example, we take Coromandel International. Coromandel International and GSFC together have set up a phosphoric acid plant in Tunisia, where rock phosphate is available at low cost. And they are bringing the phosphoric acid from Tunisia to India at low cost. One. Second, Chemplast Sanmar has put up a polyvinyl chloride project in Egypt, PVC project, which is operating very successfully, and the company is reported to be expanding the capacity. It's again an area where crude oil and natural gas is available in plenty. And third, most important, now recently, Reliance Industries has decided to set up a ethylene dichloride project in UAE. Reliance is a large producer of PVC. For production of PVC, you require ethylene dichloride. We don't have enough ethylene in India. So what Reliance is doing, it is going to the natural gas rich country where ethylene is available at low cost and putting up an ethylene dichloride plant there and bring the ethylene dichloride from UAE to India to produce PVC. So very ideal, appropriate arrangement which all these organizations need to be complemented. Then there are several other instances of Government of India planning. For example, Government of India is really talking to some country like Zambia for opening a copper mines. Similarly, Government of India talking to some country like Australia to open some lithium mines. So these are all established arrangements. When all these companies are doing successfully, why not we also set up a methanol plant somewhere in the Middle East countries where natural gas is adequately available? That is one question that we need to ask, and we need to be satisfied that this is a very legitimate question. I will go to next slide. Now look at the picture. Let us just go back and see China's methanol capacity feedstock. Because I said methanol has been produced. You look at China, have a look at this slide. I will just wait for a few seconds. Internationally, methanol is produced from natural gas in most of our countries. China is one country where they are trying to produce natural gas by methanol from coal. Total production of methanol in China, 60%, 67% of the methanol is being produced from coal. This is precisely the condition which India wants to replicate. China is a coal-rich country. India is a coal-rich country. When China is able to do this, why not we do it in India also? The problem in India is the comparatively high ash content of coal in China, Indian coal deposits, compared to what we have in China. China also, there are some areas where the ash content of the coal is high. Still, they are producing methanol and derivative products, which is being subsidized to some extent by the government of China. I'm just giving an example to show that methanol being a raw material for coal being a raw material for methanol in China, which India is trying to replicate, is nothing unusual or unheard of. That is technically possible. Only economic viability is in doubtful right now. We go to the next slide now. Now let us look into this methanol to olefin project in China. I have been emphasizing from the beginning that out of the many derivative products of China, methanol to olefin, which is light olefin, ethylene and propylene, are not being produced in India at present. And ethylene and propylene are very strong building blocks. Because of the lack of capacity for ethylene and propylene, several derivative products in India are not being produced. And without producing the derivative products of ethylene and propylene in a big way, it is extremely difficult for India to reach a growth rate of 8 to 9% for the chemical industry in the coming years. So it's absolutely imperative that India has to produce olefin from methanol. Now let us see what is the experience in China. In China, there are CTO, that is coal to olefin and methanol to olefin. 39 plants are in operation. Just have a look at this slide. 39 plants are in operation in China, and number of capacities are region of 0.2 million ton, 0.3 million ton per annum, and even some higher capacities are in operation in China. So there is no problem, something being successfully done. Now, what are the technologies for the production of methanol to olefin? Just kindly look at the slide here. There are 4 well-established technologies. MTO technology developed by UOP, number 1. MTO technology developed by Dalian Institute, that's the Chinese institute, which they have developed. And then MTO developed by Sinopec, again the Chinese company. Then MTO developed by Lugi, a German company. So all these companies have supplied technology to 39 plants in China. So as far as methanol to olefin is concerned, there is no possibility or there is no constraint in getting technology from abroad, well-proven operating technologies here. This is a win-win situation as far as the methanol to olefin projects are concerned, which India has to necessarily set it up. India, there is a need to set up methanol to olefin projects as early as possible. That's the priority. Now let's go to the next. Next slide will go to. Now let us look at ethylene tree and propylene tree. So methanol, when I say methanol to olefin, obviously it is ethylene or propylene, ethylene and propylene. The plant can be designed and configured in such a manner it can produce either ethylene or propylene or both ethylene and propylene depending on different ratios. That is technically possible, which several countries are doing. Now look into this chart. I'll just wait for a few minutes. Kindly go through. I'm just giving this picture only show how important ethylene as a raw material and feedstock is concerned, how important to produce ethylene in adequate quantity in India to sustain the growth of the Indian chemical industry. For example, you got VAM, which I already said, 0.2 million tons are being imported. There's only one Asian page which are planning for this project. Then styrene, we are importing 1 million ton per annum. No production in India so far. Then we got polyethylene, alpha olefins, ethanol, ethylene oxide, so many other derivative products. Now I get all the applications also here, which I don't want to go into because of lack of time. But keep this slide in view. It generally emphasizes the fact how important ethylene as a feedstock, as a mother industry, mother block, that is very much important. Next, we'll go to propylene tree. Similar to ethylene, propylene also a very important basic building stock. Now you have polypropylene, you got cumene, you got acrylonitrile, several other products, which I already showed you out of several other products, which are the products that are in demand, which are the products that are being imported in large quantity, which I've already shown you because I don't want to get it repeated there. My object of putting this slide is to drive home the point that how important that ethylene and propylene are as mother chemicals or as a building block, an imperative need for India to put up, build capacity for ethylene and propylene in a way that is acceptable to Indian conditions. What is the way to accept Indian conditions? Obviously, producing ethylene and propylene from methanol. That is acceptable to Indian conditions, provided you are able to ensure the methanol is available at globally competitive price for the Indian unit. So I have suggested make methanol at a price globally competitive in India by putting up methanol in a natural gas rich countries like Qatar or somewhere and bring the produced methanol to India. So the methanol will be available in India at a price as competitive as the rest of the world. From there, we can have ethylene, we can have propylene, and all the ethylene and propylene projects will be globally competitive in terms of price turn, and we are not vulnerable to supply scenario for crude oil and natural gas or price fluctuation of the crude oil and natural gas. We'll go to next slide now. Now, let's look into this. Methanol to olefin, ethylene and propylene projects. Have a look at this slide. I'll just wait also. Given the present situation, and given the present production and installed capacity of ethylene and propylene, and given the new projects under planning or implementation in the country, we have estimated, assuming that the existing plants will be operating, assuming that the proposed new projects under planning and implementation will be completely implemented, even under the circumstances, the additional capacity required for ethylene in India by the year 2030 is around 10 million ton per annum. Similarly, additional capacity required for propylene in India by 2030 is around 9.9 million ton per annum. We have done a very good calculation. Take the derivative products. What is the growth rate demand for derivative products? Relevant to the derivative products and need to create capacity for derivative products to self-sustain the economy and take into consideration the ethylene and propylene already are being produced, already and two projects being planned. The gap is we need to necessarily build around 10 million ton of ethylene and 9.9 million ton of propylene by the year 2030. If we don't do this, then we will not be importing the crude oil, natural gas, build huge refineries and all that. Those kind of refineries are not being planned because we have already taken into consideration the refineries that are already being planned here. So this is a picture. This gives an idea how important it is for India to produce ethylene and propylene by the year 2030, which obviously has to be done from methanol. Now, given these reasons, I will now take next slide. I will just try to justify 10 reasons why methanol to olefin project are vitally needed in India. 10 reasons in support of methanol to olefin projects with feedstock methanol and at globally competitive price. Mind you, I'm just making it very, very clear. The methanol I'm going to have as a feedstock for the production of olefin in India are going to be adequately available for Indian units and also are going to be available at the globally competitive price. This is a precondition. And the globally competitive price for methanol can only be ensured by putting up plants for methanol in natural gas rich countries and bring the methanol here down below to India. Otherwise, taking this imported methanol right now, producing imported natural gas right now, and producing methanol, India is not going to move anywhere. Our situation is going to be as bad as today, and we will continue to be importing methanol, and probably by 2030, Indian methanol import may well reach around 5 million ton per annum if the sustained goal by 8%, which situation has been necessarily avoided. So this is absolutely necessary. Now I will try to give you 10 reasons as to why we are going to do that. You go to next slide, please. I just wait for a moment. Just kindly go through. Then each one of these points we will take it up for explanation. Now, we'll keep this slide as I explained. First, we'll take the issue supply gap. As far as the supply gap is concerned, today, ethylene and propylene are short supply. We don't have enough ethylene. So there's an imperative need to boost domestic production of ethylene and propylene, which can be done only by putting up ethylene and propylene plant from methanol in India. That's number one reason why justification. Then, second is the import constraint for ethylene and propylene. So normally what we do in India, we don't have a material, we can always import. Methanol we import, even ethanol we are importing, every commodity we can import. That option is not there for ethylene and propylene because of the hazardous nature of the products and special shipping requirements required, which is making it prohibitively expensive to import ethylene and propylene. So that's a big constraint. So Indian demand for ethylene and propylene cannot be met by import. It has to be necessarily produced only in India. That is the second factor, second reason why ethylene propylene project has been set up in India. And third, we'll go present feedstock constraints. Ethylene and propylene are presently produced from natural gas, crude oil, naphtha. You don't, as I said earlier, India 50% of natural gas is made by import. India's present import of crude oil is as much as 230 million ton per annum. Indian production of crude oil is only around 30 million ton per annum. There is no feasibility of increasing the domestic production of crude oil and natural gas in the foreseeable future to any significant level. So if the present conditions go, import of crude oil and natural gas is increasing at 6 to 7% per annum. It is quite likely that given the conditions, the import of crude oil may touch around 280 million ton by 2030, which is a difficult situation, too difficult to even imagine. So there is a big constraint as far as the feedstock for ethylene and propylene is concerned. So only alternate way is to use ethylene and propylene from methanol, which is going to be available for India and available in adequate quantity at globally competitive price by setting up these plants abroad. This is another factor. Now, next factor will go as low capacity utilization of methanol industry in India. As I said earlier, the capacity utilization of methanol industry in India is just around 31%. Out of the 5 units, only 2 units are operating. 3 units are closed. And they have declared an annual report that it is uneconomic for them to produce natural methanol from natural gas, and then they have been forced to stop the plant. So there's no feasibility of increasing the capacity utilization of methanol industry in India in the given circumstances where imported methanol price is much lower than the production cost of methanol in India. So there's also low capacity utilization is going to persist in India for methanol. So there's no alternative other than overcoming this problem by setting up methanol plants abroad. Now, what solution? Set up methanol projects abroad. The only way is compelling reason ethylene propylene production has been increased because that's a basic building block. Without substantial capacity of ethylene and propylene in India from domestic source at acceptable price, it is extremely difficult to sustain growth of the Indian economy or a growth of Indian chemical industry 78%. The imperative need to put up ethylene and propylene in India, which can be done only from methanol. So obviously, set up methanol projects abroad. I can suggest that Qatar, because Qatar has a very friendly relation with India, and recently Qatar leader was here. India has signed an agreement with Qatar for 20 years for the import of LNG. So it's quite possible we can set up a methanol plant abroad. Now, what is the size of the methanol plant? As of now, internationally, the biggest methanol plant is in Turkmenistan of capacity 5,520 ton per day, which works out to around 1.5 million ton per annum. So if India can manage to put up two methanol plants, each of capacity 1.5 million ton per annum abroad, then you will have 3 million ton of methanol available. And present import is around 2 million ton. This takes care of your methanol required for you for the next 10 years or 12 years. This is a very, very attractive point, and these people are using the topsoil technology. Whereas there is a large capacity of 5,220 per ton per day for methanol from natural gas that is being done at Turkmenistan, there are a number of other methanol plants of slightly lower capacity, something like 2,000 ton per day or 3,000 ton per day, and all these are available. So large capacity methanol plant, two plants abroad or three plants abroad, if you are going to set up, just like what Coromon International has done from Tunisia for requirement of phosphoric acid, what Reliance Industries is now doing in UAE for putting up ethylene dichloride plant and getting the ethylene dichloride in India, I am suggesting go and put up the methanol plant somewhere in those countries of large capacity because Indian requirement is very huge, of capacity 1.5 million ton per annum, for which similar plants are in operation. That's what they call top source technology. Top source has given the technology for the Turkmenistan plant of 5,000 tons per day. Set up this particular plant, then there's no issue. And lastly, comparative transportation cost is a very, very vital factor. Now, as far as transportation cost is concerned, now people may ask, now you are importing LNG, then you are going to get methanol from abroad, then the transportation cost is an issue for both methanol and LNG. This is the right question if you don't have the right answer. The question is the transportation cost of comparative transportation cost I'm giving you because it's going to change from different countries to country. Suppose transportation cost for LNG is $150 per ton. For the same thing, the transportation cost for methanol is going to be hardly 10 to 15 dollars per ton because the natural gas from the country has to be liquefied, brought to India, then gasified, then transportation by pipeline. Whereas methanol, you don't have any problem. It can just come in the containers. So the cost of transportation of methanol from Qatar or somewhere for this particular project and bring the methanol to India will be much, much lower than the cost of transportation of LNG. So that way, any argument that transportation cost of methanol has to be taken into consideration is become totally defeated because there is no comparison with LNG. So that is not going to be a disadvantage. Now, finally, important factor is any project that is planned in India, the first thing that comes in the mind of project promoter is, if I am going to set up the project, is there going to be import dumping? Will I be in a position to compete with the international producers? How will I do? The case of methanol is a problem. The methanol we are producing in India, but again, methanol has to come from abroad. Ethanol coming from abroad is much cheaper, so there is an import threat. In the case of the ethylene and propylene, you don't have the import threat, mainly because, as I told you, ethylene and propylene are hazardous chemicals, require special kind of shipping arrangement. So large quantity of import of ethylene and propylene is ruled out, impossible. You are not going to face any threat from the imported ethylene and propylene in the coming years. So that way, the native production of the ethylene and propylene in India from methanol is going to be well protected from any import threat. And finally, technology. Technology, as I told you, is well available. There are 39 plants in operation in China. Number of companies like Lugi or UOP or Sinopec has all technology. We can just get the technology. See, it is not going to be like coal to methanol. Coal to methanol, we have problem of high ash content. So we are not able to be, the issue here. Whereas the case of natural gas to methanol, there is no such issue. The price here issue is only the price of natural gas. The price of natural gas, we are trying to solve it by setting up procuring natural gas in a natural gas rich country and putting a methanol plant there and bring it here at a transportation cost which is much less than the LNG that is being brought here. So what is it that we want more? So this is the situation here. So the whole final thing is to conclude it. What I would like to stress here is there's an imperative need to increase the production of methanol in India. That's a very strong building block. The lack of methanol in India, domestic road, is now leading to a situation where several derivative products of methanol are not being produced, like acetic acid and so on. Then when you use this methanol in India to produce olefin, ethylene and propylene, several derivative products like PVC or styrene or VAM or polypropylene, so many things can be set up. It's a win-win situation. So there's no alternative other than getting it. So the final recommendation that we are giving here is based on our extensive study of the whole methanol scenario in India and abroad and all these kind of things is that set up methanol to olefin projects in India immediately, take the ethylene and propylene here, from that is olefin from methanol, use the ethylene and propylene for production of derivative products. To make the methanol available, go and set up methanol plant somewhere abroad and nearly natural gas rich countries in proximate distance and get it here. That would be a win-win situation for all of us. And this opportunity, we should not give it up. This is the objective of the entire webinar that we are going today, which has been done on the basis of the extensive research on various economics. I am not getting into the economics of the project because this is beyond the scope of this discussion here. Probably somebody can ask what could be the recommended capacity for methanol to olefin in India, ethylene. Possibly we can have a capacity of around 150,000 ton of ethylene and propylene, which should be costing somewhere around, in our estimate, around 1750 crores, rupees 1,750 crores. That's our broad estimate that we have made on the Indian condition. This could be a figure. So get this methanol here, set up a number of ethylene and propylene projects and take the country forward. This is by broadly the conclusion. And if you have any queries, particular observations to make, I'll be happy to hear them.
Yeah, if you have any questions, we could take the questions now.
So I'm Baliga speaking. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Yeah.
So this comparison of this ethylene and propylene produced from methanol, the cost-wise, how does it compare with what is produced by cracking naphtha or rich gas, ethane, for ethane or propane? Can you throw some light on it?
Can you repeat the query?
No, his query is how does the cost of ethylene and propylene produced from methanol compare with cracking from naphtha or
No, this is for ethylene and propylene. 1 ton of olefin, the requirement of methanol as per Chai is around 2.4 ton. 2.4 ton of methanol is required for 1 ton of olefin. And given the price of for cost of production of methanol abroad and cost of production of ethylene and propylene, this is viable. This whole section is around 150,000 ton per annum plant is viable. And economics, in the case you need, probably kind of mail to me. I will send a brief of this particular economics of this particular project. I will send it to you.
Yeah, okay. Another question I had is about coal to methanol. Since we have a lot of coal, one of the disadvantages that is being cited is that we have a lot of high ash content. But high ash content is seen as a problem rather than as an opportunity to make certain important niche products out of the ash itself, and then make use of increase the overall viability or economics of the chain of projects. Do you have any views on this, and have you looked at it?
It's a very good question, sir. I agree with you. See, basic problem is when you have high ash content in the coal, the yield of synthesis gas comes down. So what you are saying is take the coal out. Take the coal out of the ethanol, use the ash for ash out of the ethanol coal and use it for other purposes. It's a very eminent proposition. To what extent, I don't think I'm not sure whether anybody has done work on beneficiating the coal to reduce this ash out and take the ash as the derivative product, as the principal product for production of derivative products. This is something which has to be thought about very carefully, because this again another aspect that all comes to finally end up in economics. See, when you have a coal to ash, if you are going to remove the ash content, is the cost of the coal going to increase at a higher level because of these recovery procedures? And will it be economical to produce methanol from this low ash coal after beneficiating the coal? It is something which has been done only in a study. But it's a very important query. I think it is subject for a high level of research. I thank you very much for this.
So I think today whatever ash that is coming from various gasification plants, whether it is in New Delhi or any other coal gasification plants in Bihar and Assam or wherever, ultimately the ash I think is going to cement plants and some other areas. But basically there are a lot of metal contents in it, which can be actually extracted, and we can go into catalytic, very high value catalyst manufacturing, and we can actually add value. Ultimately, this will reduce the net price of coal.
I see what you are saying is right now the fly ash is being used in the cement industry. That's true, but certain level, see, it can't be done beyond a certain level, certain percentage which you are doing. What you are probably trying to say is that the taking this ash and using the derivative product of ash will add to the profitability of the whole project, which can bring down the cost of production of coal. That I agree with you, sir. This is something which has been deeply studied now. It has been deeply studied now. And I think I will come, if you have information, I come with some sort of proposition on this. We will see what we can do, how to propagate the whole concept.
Yeah.
Because we have done some study for a Assam-based cement company who wanted to use this ash along with the mix to reduce the cost of production of this ash, of the cost of production of cement. Then they found there's a certain level up to which they can take the ash. Beyond that, if they take the ash, the quality of the cement comes down. So there's a limit beyond which then they really what they want to do is can I increase this ash beyond the level? Some particular laboratory, I don't want to give the name of the laboratory, good work was not done. So they gave up the whole proposal. But this is something which can be done.
Yeah, thank you, sir.
Hello. Hello.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. Sir, Mr. Venkatraman, sir. So
Yeah.
now today we are talking about coal to methanol, methanol to olefin type of things, no, sir?
Yeah.
So India has consistently missed the trajectory of this methanol downstream, sir. In 1992, if I'm not wrong, Indian Institute of Petroleum cleared the way for methanol blending with fuel, 92. Nothing has happened. After that, China had gone into M15, M85 and 100% M100 also. After that, DME. Then they went into methanol to olefin, now coal to olefin. So there is a lack of support from somewhere to make these things happen, sir. That is one question, sir. Number two is, see, there is about 25% of the capacity which is idling even in the Middle East for methanol, which probably we could use up immediately if we have a policy direction. Say, ethanol is being imported directly for blending today. Likewise, if we have a policy support to import methanol for a certain fuel application or blending application, that can be done, and the capacity utilization in the Middle East can go up. They can give us at some underwritten price. Is it possible? Would that work, sir?
It's possible. It's possible. See, I did not mention one point because of lack of time.
Sir.
China, they are producing dimethyl ether from methanol.
Correct, sir.
Dimethyl ether is substituted by LPG.
Sir.
And it can also be blended with the diesel.
Correct, sir.
Some basic design changes are made in these heavy vehicles.
Correct, sir.
China has got 50 DME plants, dimethyl ether.
Correct, sir.
And the dimethyl ether being used as a substitute for LPG as a cooking fuel.
Correct,
and
sir.
Transportation, big way.
Correct,
and
sir.
they have not done anything. And see, one of the companies here in India, I persuaded them to go for a DME in a big way.
Okay.
DME is a much more environmentally beneficial project than this LPG.
Correct, sir. You're 100% right.
Not only that, same cylinders which you are using for transport of LPG,
Sir.
same cylinder can be used for cylinder for transporting dimethyl ether. There is no issue at all.
Correct, sir.
Worldwide, 13 million tons of dimethyl ether is being produced by different countries, with China having 50 units of DME right now.
Sir.
The issue here is, somebody wanted to put a plant and went to Government of India for approval.
Yes.
And the Government of India, typically, you know what, bureaucrats, they have not heard about this whole concept at all. Then they said you go and get approval from Nagpur, the close research institute. They have no idea. Then this man just asked, I will do one thing, I will import the DME for the start to make some sort of an initial market development kind of thing.
Correct.
Allow me to use the LPG cylinder for packing this DME. So
Correct.
that I will pack the DME and export it as a trial, as a marketing exercise. And then after establishing the market, I will go ahead with put that. And further, he said, allow me to sell it to the private sector. Don't compel me to sell it to one of the government agencies.
Sir.
For nearly 14 months since the request has been made, series of discussion have taken place. Nothing whatsoever happened. They is very right.
So this is what I am apprehensive about, Venkatraman, sir.
Yeah, that is true. You are right.
That is 92, and today we are, after 32 years, we are talking about the methanol economy, sir. In fact, when I remember in 91 and 92, India had 4 times the production and only 25%, 20% of consumption there. Today it has changed entirely, sir. We have missed the bus, sir.
True, it is true. But it's a fact, and probably several other instances can be shown where the two ways are there. So one is the research efforts are not being allowed to develop to a commercial level due to lack of enthusiasm of the project promoters in India, particularly in the private sector. And second, wherever the government has given money to the CSR labs to develop technology, they are gone up to a certain extent. And beyond that, they are not able to go see. I'll give you one case study. There's one CSR lab where one gentleman has developed technology. Sure. Then we approached a particular laboratory later on to have you give the technology to us. Then one gentleman came and told me in private, sir, the man who has developed technology is right now. All I have got is only in the book form. Sir. No, you want to take a calculated risk. He asked me, frankly, I have got all the parameters in paper, but I have not worked on it. I am putting in charge of this. These are all the complex issues, sir. Complex issues in developing technology, commercializing it, taking it forward. Where my grievance is the private sector companies, most of the companies have made reasonably good profit this time. They got surplus money. They are not putting money into the R&D. A lack of confidence in the CSR labs. Variety of complicated, complex issues about which we are keeping on repeating without finding a solution. Some solutions have to come out. But I agree with you basically about the basic principle you have said.
So these 5 plants which are not working in India, can this be, no, anyway, there's no way it is going to be working tomorrow, day after, or any time in the future.
As a matter of fact, in the case of the GSFC, it was closed for some time, and then I think the Prime Minister asked them to restart it. So they restarted sometime in 1922, ran the plant for some time, and found it economically unviable. They have put it in the annual report. They are not concealing anything.
No, it is true, sir. I know these people, GSFC. So they have expressed their inability to sell at a profit even before starting the production.
Yeah, there are only 2 ways. Government has heavily subsidized the methanol industry, just as they are doing in the fertilizer, which government is not willing to do because their hands are already full. only alternative is to make methanol, natural gas available for these people at a lower cost, which is not possible in India. So I
So
think
they can. No, what I'm saying is they can relocate this plant to nearby countries, no, sir. Why idle? They are always they are mothballed now, so, sir.
That's a very good suggestion, sir. See, suppose you got to put up methanol to natural gas plant somewhere in Middle East. Shift the plant to Middle East. It's a very, very good suggestion. Nothing wrong in that because basically these plants are all technically competent. There's nothing
correct, sir.
the technologies are concerned here.
Very true, sir.
Cost. So shift the plant to the extent possible. Take it elsewhere to Middle East countries. Reinstall the plant. Similar things have taken place in several ways. Again, a very, very good suggestion that you have brought it around.
Sir. But somebody has to work on this, sir. We can all discuss, debate, and things like that. But you need a central person to coordinate. Maybe a senior person like you would be able to sell this idea, sir.
So I have, continuing question on the coal gasification and the methanol.
Yeah.
See, besides that fly ash problem, actually, I'm still interested in the coal route because we have a lot of coal. And one is we need to resolve that ash problem. And if that is done, I think there should not be, that should be a very, very interesting way to make methanol from coal. Now, in order to take care of this ash thing, we can also import coal from, cleaner coal rather, and then blend it and handle it in reactors in safe ways so that the ash problem is minimized or handleable. Instead of importing natural gas, we can import coal, which is environmental people will have a lot of issues, but that can be done, and this will help.
You are right, sir. That's one of the proposals under consideration by Coal India, I think. They are thinking of importing low ash coal and blending it with this. It's a compromise kind of thing. That's one of the things that they are thinking of. As a matter of fact, even in the public domain, that information is there. They are planning to import low ash coal and mix it with this.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Even if they were to bring the low ash coal and mix it with the high ash coal here, high ash coal still remains. Ultimately, how is the economy is going to work is remain to be seen. Okay?
Yeah.
Venkatraman, sir.
Yeah, please.
There is one more thought process which says we have been consistently looking at the Middle East for a low natural gas price. Correct, na, sir?
Yeah, right.
So now a lot of African countries wherein the natural gas is likely to be available in future.
You are right. See, for example, we have recently done a big study for Tanzania.
Sir.
Tanzania, they want to put up a large methanol plant and urea plant.
Sir.
We have completed an international survey.
Sir.
And we have proposed them. They got natural gas available in those countries. Sir. I have asked them to go ahead with this natural gas, methanol. Sir. Then they asked me whether they can target India. Then I told you you can target India, but the other people have already marketed this. But you have to examine it at the time when it is there. But you can definitely put up plan. We have given a positive report to them about setting up a methanol plant from Middle East, from natural gas in Tanzania. I think the government of India, Tanzania is looking into this right now. It's possible. It's possible.
So it becomes more meaningful if somebody from India can also co-invest things like that and underwrite certain quantities. So that would be an interesting proposition, sir.
True.
Sir, this is Rajendran. You talked about the possibility of producing methanol from municipal solid waste. A country like India generates a lot of municipal solid waste and the raw material is very much in control. Then what is the obstruction, sir? Why we are not able to do that?
Samaya, can you repeat the query? I'm not clear.
No, what I was saying is...
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, please go ahead.
No, go ahead. I mean, I'm just repeating your question. So go ahead. Yeah.
No, what I was saying, sir, you talked about the possibility of producing methanol from municipal solid waste.
Yeah.
And country like India develops a lot of municipal solid waste every day. So why it is these type of projects are not taking off? Is there any technological constraint?
I think the only way of answering this query is there are so many similar opportunities that remain unexploited in India. I can't say answer this. For example, I'll give you. You take titanium dioxide. Raw material for titanium dioxide is ilmenite. India has got 12% of the total world reserve of ilmenite is available in India. but India producing only 30,000 tons of titanium dioxide. India is importing 2.5 lakh tons of titanium dioxide per annum. Why India is importing 2.5 lakh tons of titanium dioxide when you have got 20% of total world in terms of humanity here? The question is, only way of answering your query is, there are so many other similar opportunities which have not been adequately exploited. I would blame these private Praksar organizations who need to be more, I will say, dynamic or more forward-looking and must have the courage to take quick decisions and move on in a big way, because government alone cannot do anything. Government can give only a proactive policy, and beyond that they cannot do. The private sector has to take the initiative, sir. Private sector have to take the initiative. And if you ask me why this has not been done, it's very difficult for me to answer this.
Thank you, sir. Noted.
So this pilot project in Hyderabad,
Yeah,
is from the municipal waste, no, sir?
the BHEL has done.
I've
They
been
have
trying to reach out,
they have
sir.
made
Maybe
sorry.
I've been trying to understand the project, but I have not been able to meet up with them.
Hmm.
If you have some these things, I'll be able to meet up and see how it's possible, sir.
No, I think they have not given any data or whatever it is in the public domain. I wrote a letter to them asking me to keep me informed or educate me about what they have achieved. I did not get any acknowledgement. I did not, so nothing I could do.
Yeah, I couldn't get anything over the phone or just call up. So I thought I'll go and meet, because I'm based out of Hyderabad. I thought I'll go and meet up with them and see why they are not able to scale up or.
I think you will be giving a national cause if you are going to do that. Please do that. Sir. Please do that, and also share your information.
I'll do this. I'll keep you informed. I'm trying to reach out to the plant.
Right.
Let me do that, sir.
Okay, Swaminathan.
Yeah, if there are no more questions, I would like to wrap up the webinar. And I would like to thank all the participants who have joined us today and have asked questions as well. And I hope the webinar was useful. And if you need, we will send you a link to the webinar as well if you need it. And if you have any other questions, we would be very happy to take your questions by email and try our best to give you the answer. So thank you once again for joining. And
Swaminathan, 1 minute.
Yeah.
If somebody would be interested in getting this PowerPoint presentation, they can send a mail. I will send it to them.
Okay, sir.
Okay.
So thank you all. Thank you once again.
Thank you very much.
Welcome.
Thank you all.
Thank you.